hold on.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, everybody. So nice to see you. You'll want to mute your mics right now. And then at the end, you can turn them all back on and we can ask questions, okay? But let's get everything muted so there's no feedback. All right. Anita, did you figure out how to mute, honey? And Pat?
Yeah, I'm just sitting there.
Oh, I see.
Yep, good. And now Pat. Okay, here we go. And the other Joel isn't muted. Joel and Pat. Okay, maybe they don't have mics, so that's okay. So happy to see you. Before I start my PowerPoint, I want to point out the handout. So the handout has a couple different things on it. The first page is showing you what will come up when you are going to access from home, because this won't come up tonight because I've already logged in. And it's this little prompt right here. And you just literally type in or copy paste your barcode from your library card. They don't even ask for your password, just your barcode, the whole thing. So what I do is I type it in and then I copy it, get it in my clipboard so I don't have to keep typing it. The next page are just general directions, especially if you are new to genealogy. Censuses are the backbone of genealogy. It's a different workshop. And what I mean by that is when you start on, I'm just starting on a new person, J.R. Davis, that I'm just starting on him. I'm going to do the censuses first. And the reason why is the censuses use the full genealogy triad. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And give you that information. It's like when you walk up a staircase and you hold on to the railing, a census is the railing. And today we're going to talk about how to access that. And this is how to find the censuses in Ancestry directly. In other words, you don't have to do the general search. You can find them directly. And this is how you do the same thing in Heritage Quest. Heritage Quest is part of Ancestry, but it's their free version. And they have all of the censuses on it for free that you can access from home. Okay, let's play. And this is fun. I want to thank Addison and Jody at Addison Library for having me today. And the cool thing about it is this is specifically for Addison, but almost every library I've ever been to in Illinois, at least, has different databases that you can access in the library, such as Ancestry. We know it was accessible at home during the pandemic, but not anymore. But then there's a bunch you can use at home anytime you want by just having the library card. And so we're going to talk a minute about general research because it's going to come up when I show you the different accesses. So we know that when we're following the paper trail, this is again different than the DNA trail, the paper trail, you start with you and you go backwards. You do your dad and mom, then you do the generations headed back. This is called the direct ancestors. And it's not the collaterals. It's not the aunts and uncles. It's not the nieces and nephews. And most of us, when we first start out with genealogy, we just head back on the direct ancestors. Later, we realize that we have to do the collateral. And if you're doing DNA, you have to do the collateral. But most of us start with just headed straight back. Another thing about this paper trail that we're finding today in databases is that in a paper trail, you can, this is a chart and it's called a pie chart, and it gives the names of the mom and the dad, and then the kid, mom and dad, then the kid. And you'll see there's holes here. And that's because our goal is see if we can fill in all those holes. Anyone who's been to my workshops knows that behind me is one of my big charts. And it's the same thing up there. And we fill them in by continuing to research until we have our full chart full. And genealogy never ends. But each of those holes, it takes specific skills to fill it. And that's part of what we're talking about today, because one of the skills is knowing where to find the information. So we're going to go fishing for some ancestors and maybe even catch a cousin. So the mindset when you start out as a genealogist at first is you got your peeps and you're going to go search for your peeps. You're going to put in their name, you're going to put in their last name and maybe some information, and you're going to learn how to do it in family search and in Ancestry. And as you go along, you figure out, oh, wait a minute, I need to fill out more on there, some dates, some locations. And when I put in Sally on Ancestry, it comes up with the Sarahs And when I put in Polly, it comes up with Mary. And when I put in Elizabeth, it comes up with Betty and Betsy and Lizzie and Bitsy. That's the fuzzy search. So you learn the different databases that their search engines have different fuzziness to their search. Some have none. Like if you're working with dar.org in their research pile, they have no fuzzy search. It has to be exact. And then you also figure out, now, wait a minute, I can't find them. Why can't I find them? I have, quote, the right name and the right date. Well, we know about that rightness, and we're going to come back to this. But this is one of the pieces of information I'm really trying to get out there, is this genealogy triad. Remember, I began doing genealogy research before technology. So I was trained by these people who have been doing the paper trail through, onion skin typewriter paper and carbon paper. And they have some tools from way back then that sort of didn't get transmitted during this technology, and I'm trying to get those out there. One is this triad. So we know that you have your ancestors, and we know they are in history. In other words, they happened in history, and there was a historical context to it. And this is called the triad of interconnecting information for genealogy, because they lived in a certain location. Location does not have to be an address. It can be a territory, a valley, a township, Shenandoah Valley, Northwest Passage, the Northwest Territory. It can be anything like that. Then we also have groups. So they weren't just a family group. They weren't just a mom and dad kids. They also could be part of a clan, part of a church, part of a group of people such as the Flying Tigers. There's lots of different groups out there. And we tend to think we're always searching for our people. But when you're talking about databases, that's not the truth. You actually are trying to look at the triad to see what other information you can find, and then you look for your person. So it's taking it one step back. An era is the same thing. It can be, of course, a day, month, year, but it also can be like we just had. We just had a pandemic. It can be a famine. It can be a war. It can be the communist Soviet Union, and then it can be the collapse. You're just looking for those records. And so you use this triad for two things. You use it to narrow in on your person by looking for a group, an era, a location that matches what you're looking for, and you'll probably find them right at home, because maybe their name was transcribed wrong. I was looking for, I think it was a Victoria. Yeah, and she was listed as a Walter. Now, how would you find this? On another census, the last names all shifted down one when they transcribed them. So when I look at the real image, the primary source document, everything was shifted down. Now, you won't find it if you're doing databases, because it was transcribed incorrectly. So you have to search in a different fashion. Okay, and we're looking for primary source documents. There's a couple versions of primary source documents. And as you look through the records, you notice that they come in sets. So you have a set of death records from Iowa, and you have a set of birth records from Indiana. You have Illinois death and birth records at the health department, and then you have them in the county offices, and then you have them at the CyberDrive, Illinois. So you have these collections of records. When they digitalize them and make them available with search engines, not necessarily online. So let's say you're going to do the Catholic cemeteries of the Chicago diocese. They're not online, but they are digital. If you just go to a cemetery that has a kiosk, and you can stand there and print to your heart's content. When they are digitalized, they become a database. And fortunately, many of the databases give access to different libraries of these databases. So we got to talk a minute about databases and search fields. You would never tell Abraham Lincoln that he's using a cell phone wrong, because there weren't cell phones when Abraham Lincoln was alive. And have you ever said or thought, why did they spell that name wrong? I know that's not the right spelling of the name. We're all listening to ourselves having said this. Why is the birth date wrong on that census and different on another census? How come the name is right on the marriage record, but spelled wrong on the census? I know. Well, just maybe those names aren't wrong. Maybe they're just written different. Because if we look back in history, we're going to find that it wasn't until 1980s when microcomputers came out. Remember when Texas Instrument calculators came out? That's when these fields, these data fields became standardized. And so the spelling wasn't standardized until 1980s. I have people who have records from 60s and 70s, and the spelling of their last name is different than the 80s, and yet they're all the same name. So you can't say the name is spelled wrong and be successful at finding your genealogy records without being frustrated. Instead, change your mindset. In other words, it's not spelled wrong, it's spelled differently. Let's see how many differences I can get. And when you have a name like Turnbow, you get, about 15 difference, all kinds of them. Sometimes when you're dealing with the colonials, you have to say the name with an accent to yourself to see how they really spelled it. So, and then in many of the, even though literacy was quite high in the 1600s, but by the 1930s, it was not. There weren't even local schools in some districts, in some areas in the United States. Okay, so let's fast forward today. This is why you have to see the not so good part of databases, because they rely on search fields. And this is how we get the information. So the information you're searching for was written by a clerk, like in 1700. We don't know his literacy. We don't know what his primary language was. We don't know if he'd been drinking. I mean, seriously. Then oftentimes that clerk was told by another person what to write down. They'll say, what is your name? Let's say they're taking tax records. And we don't know the literacy or the language of that person. And what if it's two different languages going against each other, and then you have to write in English? And what if you learn to write in Cyrillic, and now you're writing letters in American English, and American English versus British English? There was a census that was taken in Arkansas, where I have a group of family, and there was this wonderful historian. She was, about 100 and knew everything. And we were looking at, I think it was the 1920 census. And she says, now I remember the 1920, could have been the 30 census. It must have been the 30. And she said, I was a little girl, and the census taker was our town drunk. And rather than walking from house to house to get the information, he would just sit at home and fill it all out. Again, here we go. Also, now the information has been given to a transcriber, somebody modern, and to read this. And we don't know their ability to read the archaic manuscript, and we also don't know what their primary language is. When Ancestry first came out, many of the records that they transcribed were not transcribed by American English speakers, whereas on Family Search, they were transcribed by Americans, because Family Search is based on LDS, which is an American institute. So again, now we're moving forward, and we're still having a transcription problem. Okay, then someone entered the data into a field. But remember, this was either a human, or we know that optic computer reading, that was going on also now. Again, you see how many errors can come up? Yeah. And finally, all of this was uploaded or extracted by some computer program and made into a collection that you can find on Ancestry or Family Search or any of the databases we're doing today, MyHeritage, but any of those databases we're doing today. So once again, you can't rely on what you know. You have to realize that it's all relative. It's all based on this triad, and it's based on what you know about the peripheral, the historical context of your person as to what database you're going to go for. All right, we are going to start with the Addison library databases that they've already separated for genealogy, and that's that first sheet of your handout. So hold on. But then we're going to move on to the other databases on the other page, because there are some really good ones. And look how cool this is. Remember when I said that with databases, you're not looking for your ancestor. You're looking for a collection of records, and they have all kinds of different collections. When you're dealing with locations, they have A to Z maps and some of the encyclopedia. So I just put A to Z because that was a really cool one, but there are also some encyclopedia type things. For groups, they have one that is on the Hispanic life 1704 and Black life from 1704. Again, they have others on there. I just pulled out the highlights. And then for eras, they had some really cool on A to Z maps again, but they also had A to Z US and world. And on the left, when you click on that, it gives a timeline for like the state of Illinois. It's very, very, really useful information, especially when you need to know what was Illinois before it was Illinois. And then, of course, we have our biggies, all the different newspaper ones, because the newspapers they give location, group, and era simultaneously. The problem is, we know about yellow journalism, and I'm not so sure it's gone. And so you have to take it with a grain of salt. You also have to look at the years that these are available, so that you know that if you, let's say you're doing the 1987 to the present day trib, and you're looking for something in 1850, and you say, well, it's not in the trib. Well, no, you didn't look in the right database. You got to be sure you know what the database has. All right. Now, where do you find these databases at Addison Public Library? Let's go live. And it takes me a minute. I got to click some stuff. So give me a second. Come on. There we go. Okay. I still got to know there's more buttons to click. Here we go. All right, that's Ancestry. Let's find where's my link that's Addison Public Library. There's Addison Public Library. So when you walk into the library, you would go to the computers, or you can check out a laptop. Jody had mentioned that, which is pretty nice. That means you can sit where you're comfortable or where it's quiet. And you open up the Addison website. You're in the library, you're opening up the Addison website in the library on their computer. Now, you can try on your computer, but it probably won't go through that you can get onto Ancestry, because there's really, if you look at the list, and we're going to go there in just a second, Ancestry is the one that you have to be in the library to use. We're going to talk about how to work around that. So here we've got the research. And then I scoot down and I go to genealogy. And now we're back to that page we were on before. And you'll see that at the genealogy website, only one, that's Ancestry, the library edition, is the only one you have to use in the library. So I know many people at home, they have Ancestry, but they only have the US version, because it can get expensive when you have all these databases you have to buy. And so if you want to do your US version at home and you have a tree with everything connected, if you go into the library to use the library version, it has world on there, but you can't open your tree. So you need to bring your laptop with your tree on your laptop and then work on the library computer with your Ancestry, with the Ancestry to get world, or to, so for instance, here's mine. And my at-home version is a little bit different than the library, but I just didn't know if you realized how to get the documents out once you get them. So I'm scooting down. Let me explain why I'm scooting down. I'm in Ancestry. You walk into the library, they either with your card or they will give you a number just on your signature. And then you go to open Chrome. Ancestry works best on Chrome. I know there's a lot of other browsers, but Ancestry is made for Chrome. And then you open up the Ancestry, and it'll look a little bit different than this. You know how this is our front page. Obviously, it won't give a tree because it is the library version. So it's not going to give a tree. So I'm going to go back to where it was, which is this tree. And I'm going to, I don't want to be there. I want to go to John. There we go. Okay, so then I'm just going to go to hints like you would do. We're going to go down to hints. First hint is always going to be there, and it's you don't have to worry about ignoring it or anything. And it's the other members' trees. Then come usually what other members have put in. But Ancestry's been doing something interesting lately, so I'm not sure where they're going with this, but we'll see. So you see how this says military? So we know it's in a military collection. And when we scoot down here, do you see how it says member photo? So what I usually do is I start with the Ancestry stuff. Like I said, I always start with the censuses. So I'm just going to click this census. And this prompt can be very hard to evaluate on because it connects without verifying that you have checked all the information. So to get out of this prompt, so all I've done is I've clicked here. You can click the word review too. It doesn't matter. It gets to the same place. Then you click the blue lettering. and it will get you to the proper prompt. Here you can analyze. Here's, if you're on your home, this is your tree up here. This is the document. And you're saying, oh, I want that document, but you know what? How do I get that document home? Here it is. And what do I do to get it home? And it's asking yes, no, maybe so. Well, that still doesn't help. Down here, do you see how it has different tools? You go to the wrench and it lets you download. And on the computer at the library, just bring a flash drive. I'm sure I have one hanging out. You may call it a jump drive. It's an external, like there's my thing, just an external drive. And put it in. And when you download, just be sure you know where the downloads are going to. You can ask the librarian, they will help you so that you can take this document home and you can upload it to your Ancestry, or I have a family archive, because all those documents you have on your Ancestry tree and your my heritage tree, you don't own any of them. You don't even own your tree. That's a research tree. That is not your private tree. In order to own those censuses and those birth records and that type of thing, you have to download them. You have to grab them, label them, and then organize them somehow. And I organize them into my sources. So when I have a bunch of censuses, I do it by let me go to vital records. It's easier to show. There's not as many. Let's say I'm doing birth records, I organize them by a state folder or a country folder. And then in those folders would be the documents. This is a PDF of an index, but I also have the documents. Odds are, if it's just an index, it's collateral. If it is direct, well, look at that. That's birth record. That's real. So she's a direct. And so I have her honest to goodness document. Okay, so when you're at the library, you can get documents. You just need to use this little wrench. And then the other way to do it, so I'm just going to click on his wife so it will get away with this yes, no, maybe. There we go. It says save, and look at, you can save to your shoebox or someone in your tree. It's not letting you save, but you can share. And I believe you can go to email with the share. So you can't do it through share. You can do it, through save. You can do it through share, and you can send it to your own email. Or when you print it, you can save it as a PDF onto that jump. So you can save it from both places. Okay. Let me go back to Ancestry. I think that's everything. Let me look at the handout so I make sure I answered all your questions. Yep, Ancestry, how to do it, and then searching. And so when you're in the Ancestry, I'm going to go back. You know that in Ancestry, if you just click this Ancestry tree right here, it'll bring you back to the beginning of the whole thing. Same thing in Family Search. So you would search here, and then you can search all collections and go ahead and have a good time with it. The census thing I gave you shows you how to do censuses really quickly. And, oh, tell me that they changed. No, down here. Yeah, they changed it. It's down here. So let me show it again. I did search. I can go to censuses, or I can go all collections, censuses. I click federal censuses. Notice I haven't put a name in yet. Federal censuses. Still haven't put a name in. And then I can go down here and choose which census. So let's say we're going to do the 1940 census. And then I type in my name. So it's very easy to get the censuses done. If a guy was born in 1919, the first census you want to find is, of course, the 1920 census. And that brings us to the other databases. So that's the Ancestry one. Okay. And let me get back to Addison. So
Okay,
let's
Suz, real quick. I just want to
Yep.
point out to everybody again, Suz is not in the library, so she's not using the Ancestry that we have here. She's
Right.
in on her own thing, but that is amazing that you can download stuff onto your USB and
take it
then you
home.
can take it home, put it on your computer, and upload it into your personal Ancestry.
Exactly. So you don't have to worry that you've lost your research when you go there. Therefore, you can just buy US and then go to the library and use World. And it's interesting. Go ahead.
Sorry, but okay, so what is the advantage? Is there an advantage if you have your own Ancestry account that you use at home, you bring your laptop in with your account? What is the advantage of doing that? Because you get a different version in the library?
Yeah, the library version won't have your tree on it.
Right.
So if you're working from like John, I was just doing John Davis, who's a new dude I'm doing. He's on my tree, but I need to be able to type him in the search engine on the library version.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
And you may
that's-
get something different, or you may get a different.
No, it's because if
interface.
I have Ancestry at home and I only have US version, I would go to the library. And for many years, I did this, many years when I was teaching and not doing genealogy full time. I would only use World at the library.
Thank you. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you don't have Ancestry at home, you may have software that has a tree on it. So then you go like this, and here's my tree in my software. And I would bring my computer because my laptop has my software on it with my tree on it. And like, here's Davis and John. I think it's this one. No, it's probably this one. I don't know. I'm just doing him. And so I would bring this in and say, okay, there's John Davis. Now I don't have a birth on him, but look I've got Elizabeth. Elizabeth was born 1880. Now I go on to the computer in the library and I search on Ancestry. Now I can fill in all these dates. I can fill them in. I can download the item and put it in my archive. Yeah, so some people don't have Ancestry at home, but it's still viable. You just bring your laptop with your software. And I'm on a Mac, so I'm using Reunion, but there's Family Tree Maker, like here's Family Tree Maker and Legacy or whatever you're using. Does that help, Jody?
Sorry, yes, it totally helps. So I mean, you're just basically, just accessing another database that you don't have
That's
access
it.
to at home, and that has the World version of it and not just
Right.
the US version.
Right, but if you're going to come to Addison Library, you're also going to play with these other things. So you'll
Right.
want your laptop.
And
Also,
those are the things that you can do at home too. It's just the
exactly, and that's
Ancestry
what I'm
you
good.
have to come in for.
Exactly. But you know what? Not everybody has the same, not every library has the same databases. So Addison has Addison Suburban Life, but other libraries don't. You see, so they can't access them at home because they're not part of the library. So they have to go to Addison to access some. If they're not an Addison patron, they have to go to your library to access your Addison databases. Do you get it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Addison Suburban Life is pretty easy. It has, let me click on it for you. Oh no, it's spinning. Hold on. There we go. It is part of Newsbank, and Newsbank and Proquest are the two big database things that seem to come up a lot in genealogy. And you have to look to see, again, what are the years? And this one, the Addison is 2000, I have it written down. Addison is just 2007 to 2020. But 2007 sounds like it's really recent, but it's not. It's sort of getting back there, And so sometimes you would be able to. Jody, would be able to use this Addison, the 2007 would be helpful. Jody, do you have the past copies on microfiche of the Addison Suburban Life?
I'm never totally sure where to go exactly. It's like the Historical Society is a really good option for people.
Got it. Okay.
Village also, but I'm never quite sure unless I like make the email and actually make the
And
copy.
ask. Yes. Okay. So that was an easy one to get to. Let's do the Chicago Tribune. Okay. So I'm on a Mac. I'm holding the Command key. I'm going to click this. And if you watch up here, it will open a new tab. And actually I can close these because they all open nice. If you're on a PC, you hold the Control key because otherwise we lose this. Remember when I hit Addison Suburban, this went away and I used the back key? That can be annoying. So let's go to the historical. I'm holding my Command key. It opens a new tab. Now, this one is in Proquest, and Proquest is a little bit trickier to use, but I'm going to show you the difference. And I wrote a bunch of notes, so I tried all of these things. Yeah, filter. Okay, so I'm just going to put in here Charles Wagner, just for something new. And then I just searched. Over here on the left, it lets you sort it by relevance. It also lets you move the age. See how you can move the date? And then update. And it does a new thing, which is, it's not real new, but it's new compared to when I first started. It gives you a quick look, which is really nice. So we're going to go down to this third one, and I'm going to click on quick look, and it gives you the full title. It gives you a summary, so you can say, oh, okay, that's my one. That's the Keller. I can do this. Then I click on the see full document. So remember, I'm in Proquest. I'm in Historical Chicago Tribune, and I think they started, I have to look again. Oh, wait, it's right here. Yeah, 49 to 1987, and then the current is 1987 to present. So now we have a PDF here, a thumbnail here, and it says full text of the PDF. In other words, it's not going to give us a full page on this one. It's just going to give you the piece of the article. Over here on the right, if you have to move your pictures, I'm all the way on the right now. It lets you download a PDF, which is great. But if you don't want to download because you're not at, oh, I forgot to say, so this one you are registering on at home. This one, when you click on this, I'm just happen to be logged in. You're going to put in your library number, look on your handout. It shows you the little prompt that will come up. You see it, it's a green one right there. You put in your number and you get to the page we were just at. So these are all you can do now at home. So you can download to your computer at home. And if you're not at your computer, if you're not a part of Addison and you want to use this database and you go in, you can again bring your jump drive. So now I'm going to show you the downloading part because some of them are very tricky. Proquest is not. So you saw that it went down, and if you are using Chrome, it comes down here to the bottom, and as soon as this stops blinking, it's already downloaded. So you don't have to worry, is it done? Is it done? Some of them are very long. I'm going to minimize my screen and the handout and my folder, and it's on my Mac. I have my downloads. Go to my desktop. You want to immediately label it, because when you keep downloading from all these different databases, you can have, 15, 20, 30 things on your desktop that aren't labeled correctly. So this one is currently labeled the name of the article. Well, that doesn't help me because I know it's about Charles Wagner. So it's really important that you figure out how you're going to label these documents and stick to it. If you're going to put the name first, the details second, if you're going to put a date, how you're going to do the date. So I would immediately label it, and then I'm ready. I can move on to the next. I can upload it to Ancestry. I can put it in my archive. So labeling is really a big thing. If you are, if you can't print it, you can't download it. If it's just not working, hit the print again and do save as PDF. Now, I want to show you a difference. You'll see that we have over 40,000 hits, and you're really just looking for Charles Wagner, maybe like just his obit. So I'm going to go back to that first screen. I tried to use this hamburger to go back to the first screen and it didn't work. So I'm going to use the back button, and I'm going to hit advanced search. Advanced search is almost like Boolean. So you can go here and you can go Charles Wagner. Oops, I did that wrong. Charles Wagner. And then I can search, but I don't want all those articles. So I'm going to scoot down here and scroll down and hit obituaries. Usually when I start in a newspaper, I start with obituaries. Then if I know that there's somebody who may be in, or maybe I'm looking to see, like I put my dad in, he's got all kinds of high school football articles. They're very cute with my dad in his little helmet thingy. Anyway, I usually start though with obits. Now you notice I didn't even use the and. I just left it with the Boolean with the quotation marks. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to click search. And sure enough, I've got a death notice here. And for some reason, Charles Wagner is in Edward Gorniak's obit also. And here's the trick. Do you know how sometimes, well, especially in obits, the last name comes first? So don't forget to search in reverse. And look at, we're down to 90 results, which is great. And we can look down here that these are the decades. And if you want to only do this decade down here, you can move that bar and click updates. So when I put the name last, come on, you can do it. Now I have 54. And you can see that it actually says obituary. And I've already showed you how to download and everything. And I've showed you how to quick look. You can email it. And okay, let me see if this one has the full page. No, it's got a separate. When you get page view, there we go. Come on. Yes. Okay. So here's the full page. When I download, I usually download the full page and then I download just the text because I like to see the both together. And the reason why is because sometimes on the full text, it doesn't tell you that it continues on page 14. And that has happened to me where I had to go back in and find the rest of the article. So I usually download the full page. And I believe, let me verify, yes. Do you see how it tells you at the top what newspaper it's from? And I'm going to show you a hint. So see, it tells you exactly that you got it out of Proquest and it's at that, but watch this trick. Okay, so let's say I'm looking for this obit and it's right there. I go up to this HTML line, the go line, I copy that. I go down to the article and there's usually some space somewhere. I'll find it. And then I'm going to go to tools, annotate text. Because sometimes you need to get back to something. Okay, come on, there it is. There's usually some white area that you can put it in. So now when I want to get back to this article, I just copy that. Almost there. I just copy it and put it in a browser window. It takes me back. So you don't ever lose anything when you do that. I do that with things out of Family Search. I do it anytime I download something from somewhere else because I want to be able to get back to that site. Any questions about the Proquest Chicago trip? Okay, let's do fold 3. Fold 3 at Addison. Jody did a very interesting thing. So I'm going to hold the command key. I'm going to press fold 3. There we go. And this one wants me to put in the password. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute while I put it in because I have to go to my email. Anyone have a question while I'm doing this? There it is. Okay, fold 3 is part of Ancestry and it's the military one. The military aspect of it. Okay. Oh, you saw it, you saw the number, sorry. Oh, I forgot, we don't have to worry about it. Sorry, Jody, I went crazy. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to search for Matthew, and this is part of Ancestry. See how it's part of Ancestry? And it's linked to Ancestry. You know how in Find a Grave you can save it to Ancestry? You can do the same thing here. But what I found was so fascinating when I opened this at home, let me get Matthew Ruby. Okay, and again, we have the filters over here. I'm going to go to Civil War. Okay, this is a memorial, and these with this little head things, and they're sort of like a profile in Ancestry, sort of like that. Okay, and you see that it's the Calvary. I'm going to go to this, Matthew Ruby. And look, it says save to Ancestry. And remember, I'm at home. I can save it to my Ancestry from the Addison Fold 3. So if you don't have a subscription to Fold 3, which I don't, if you don't have a subscription to Fold 3, you can use the library one at home with your library card and save it to your Ancestry. So I'm going to click on Ancestry and I'm going to go to Matthew. This is him. And we're going to ignore the date is there because it's not going to be real anyway. I'll take it off. And I saved it in my tree to Matthew Ruby. I know. It was so cool when I saw that, Jody, that you can use this. Now, one thing to keep in mind with fold 3 as you are looking is sometimes you are going to get a folder or an envelope at the beginning. And that means that there are more records. Don't stop looking. So I'm going to uncheck this and see if we can find one of those. Okay, so. And they have records you don't need to look on fold 3. You definitely want military records because these censuses and stuff are awkward on fold 3. It's easier to do it. Let's try World War II. No, let's try it. I thought I had it marked, but I don't. Okay. I'm just going to show you where it would show up. Okay, down here, do you see this string down here? Yeah, oh, this worked. Okay, so do you see how this Matthew Reed has page 1? And you would think that that's all you have to download. No, it's got a page 2. See down here, it tells you there's the back of the card. And we know that on Ancestry because I'm just in one of those registries, the World War I think I'm in 2. So anytime you bring up a document here and this bottom scroll bar opens, you need to look because sometimes it has the full file of the War of 1812 or the full Civil War pension file, which can be, 25, 30 pages. So on fold 3, be sure to look down there. Okay, let's go to the next one. Hide floating. Oh my goodness, so many things. All right, now we're on Heritage Quest. Heritage Quest is, again, part of Ancestry. Oh, it's going to want me to put that in. Okay. And I had them all open, but I guess they all closed. And it has all the censuses. So if you don't have access to censuses at home, you can always use Family Search, but you can also use MyHeritage. Heritage Quest. It also has other documents that are free if you have no Ancestry at home. And I gave you how to go through these censuses and clicking buttons and everything to get to the censuses. See how it looks like Ancestry? It's very much like Ancestry. Okay, the next one I thought was interesting. This is Heritage Hub. And you see that it's a Newsbank one. And Newsbank, I find easier to use. So the Addison Suburban Life was Newsbank. So we got to wait. There we go. And so you can put in a name, but it also gives you the list of sources. So if you follow my cursor, I'm now going all the way into the up left-hand corner and it says all databases. So when you click on that, you see all the databases that are in Heritage Hub. See it. You can click better. You can find all these different things. Like, let's say you're really looking for Black Life in America, or you're doing Black History Month. It has all these other filters that you can use, but you can also just use it as straight up that you're searching. So let's do Wagner and we'll do Charles and see what comes up. I'm making sure I've got everything. Okay. And we go. So you would do it exactly like you would do in any other database. It looks like it's an article because it says article. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to read the news document. Okay. Oh, I don't want it to read.
Howard Charles Wagner.
I forgot that reads to you. I remember clicking it before, actually having a really good time clicking it before. Okay. Oh, that's it. That's the whole thing. And loving memory of Charles Wagner, who passed on the 30th of 2022. You can print the record. You can copy the record. And I believe from print, you get to save as a PDF. So you can download like that. Okay. So I thought I found some interesting things in here. Do you see how that's the Oneida, New York Dispatch? So I thought that the newspaper, there's some cool newspapers in here that I thought were quite useful that I hadn't found somewhere else. So let's do an Suz Bates because we haven't done Otis for a really long time. And oh, it's not coming up with the one I wanted, of course. So no. So the last time I did this, and I clicked on it just like we did before. We previewed, we looked at it, we viewed the document, and then you can download it. And this is the one I downloaded. just save, get out of my face, get out of my face. This one, and it's a little bit hard to read because it's going way back there. And it says, at his residence, and it gives the citation. See the citations up here. At his residence in East Nassau on the 9th instance. What that means, this is why I pulled this one up. Instance means of the month that we're talking about, and we're talking about now. So that instance. On the 9th instance, after a short but painful illness, Mr. Otis Bates, in his 64th year of his age, also at the same place, and this is died. Also on the 16th instance, so 7 days later, Mrs. Sarah Bates, in her 60th year of her age, having lived together upwards of 40 years, and in death they were not parted. So they died just 7 days after each other. And instance is what I'm going to show you. So anyway, this is an article I knew I had and I couldn't find it, and I found it was very exciting. So I really enjoyed that it's got it written out and typed, which is pretty nice. And you can get a copy of that for you to download it to see. Okay, that's Heritage Hub. Let me go back because we only have, I gotta move quickly. That's okay, that's those. These are the genealogy ones. Now we're going to go to all of the databases. So we're going to go to research. There we go. So on your list, on the list we had seen before, not on your list, this is the list. I had shown you that this maps online is a really good one because it has historical maps. And what I want you to look at, I want to make sure I get it right. Yeah. Come on, maps. Did it come up? Yeah. No. Oh, there it is. Oh, I know what it did. Yeah. Okay. Try again. There it is. Okay. Put my library card number in. Log in. All right. See over here on the left, it's got history maps. So these have historical maps. Modern medieval history, modern Eurasia history. See, 1848, these are things you need, that when you're doing research. And here they are right there looking at you. And then with the US maps, it has antique US maps. And you click the state. Look at this. It's so cool. And when you're doing research, it's really hard if you don't know the history of what was going on. Like if you have, here's 1890 Illinois. Well, when did they become a state? And why is it Illinois, Missouri, and Iowa, Wisconsin? Why? What's going on? Oh, it's the Mitchell. Oh, okay. And look down here. It even gives you some of the Library of Congress maps down here. So if you click on those and you just pick a city, there's Aberdeen. Look at how old those maps are, 1874 and 1924. So I thought that was a really helpful database. Okay, and then US, the A to Z, US and world. Okay. Illinois. And then you go over here and I clicked on, history. And look at it gives a timeline. I was telling you about this. Isn't this like so cool? So you can say, okay, my peeps were in Illinois in 1800. What was going on? Oh, it was the Indiana Territory. So I bet there are records in Indiana on my peeps in Illinois. And it's the same thing. You have a timeline with world. It has another, let's see, lot of newspapers and including another access to the Chicago Trib. And the Chicago Trib current as well as the past. And then it's got the two that I was showing you with the Hispanic and the Black Life, 1704 and up. And one more, Proquest. Oh, that's the Chicago Trib, Proquest, Washington Post, and the New York Times. So here's the Trib 1987 to current. And I don't have to go through that. I mean, that makes sense to you. And here's the one we were in before. So it's just the same one in before. And that is on the other page. And then this creator. Okay, creator's on the other page too. And I was talking to Jody. I think this is a really cool idea because it allows you to showcase your chart, your family group sheet, some genealogy share with the patrons, with the other patrons in the library. And in order to use Creator to see if you can make a project for yourself, you just contact the library and they'll have someone help you out. And you will need your ID. It says it on here and it says it on the genealogy page too. Okay, let's go down. There's Washington Post. Hold on. Okay, so what I did is I'm on their website and I hit Control F on a Mac, Command F on a Mac, Control F on a PC, and you see it brought up, if you watch right here, it brought up a Finder prompt so that I could quickly get to what I needed to see. Okay, and so we've got the Washington Post here, great for browsing and headlines. And this one, I love that you put things that whoever put this in gave you ideas on what you should be looking for in there. Okay, Proquest, Washington Post, New York Times is another one that's on here. And you access it exactly the same way you would put in your password. Oh, it's right there. Oh, come on, come on. It's not coming up. Okay. New York, there it is, New York Times. And you do the same thing. You access it with your password. Okay, let me, yeah. Oh, it went right to Proquest. That's what we're doing. Okay, Jody, I want to take any questions.
Yeah, I welcome anybody to just unmic and ask Suz. Okay, very, very good. If you want, you can put it in the chat. You're welcome to.
Give me a second. I'm gonna quiet my dog. I'll be right back. Just
Oh, you're fine. So while Suz is doing this, I just want to say that this speaks to me about, if you're an Addison card holder, this is where everybody's going. This is the value. This is one of the things that's valuable about your card. And you can access so much of it from home. I know that with, oh gosh,
yeah,
I
there.
know that with the in library only, it's kind of a pain, but I think that it's really worth it. And I think, again, what this demonstrates too is this is just part of the puzzle. And it's Ancestry and doing your genealogy is like an ongoing project. But you can do so much in just a little bit of time. If you download the items or email them to yourself, you will thank yourself 10 times over, because I have found things in the past in different places. And full disclosure, I find a lot of stuff on Find a Grave, on Family Search, on different, different sources, Ellis Island. You can go all day long.
Yeah.
But I have put together a pretty clear picture in a pretty short amount of time. And I've saved everything, and I've gone back in the past and not found the same things that I found before.
They disappear. And that's one of the things. I have two notes I want to say. One is things disappear. And so if you have access today, that does not mean Proquest will purchase that database again. So when you save it, be sure you save the full and the partial. And the second thing I wanted to reiterate is you own it. When you're using these databases, you now own that paper article, and you get to have it, you get to pass it on. And it's really exciting. You see people who do put things, the members' photos. Remember, we were looking at Ancestry, because they mailed away for it. They found it on a database. And databases search are so worth your effort. You know that like 90% of the records are not found online even. And now that we're having more and more newspapers put up, it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Joel, do you have a question?
Mostly about access for non-card or non-members of the library.
So first check to see what your library has.
Not so much, actually,
Okay,
compared to
then,
this.
are you Bellwood? Are you Bellwood, Joel?
No, I'm Wheeling.
Okay, check to see what Wheeling has. And then if you can't, they don't have the things you want to access, then you just go to Addison. You just can't do it remotely. Like Wheaton is known for having some, high genealogy, but Addison has a great collection. And so you have to use what you can find. You just have to physically go there, and it's worth it. You plan your trip,
that's fine.
plan your trip and do it.
But I don't need to be a card member to have access at site
Jody?
at the library. Is
Jody,
that accurate?
Yeah, you can just jump on a public use computer and get into the addisonlibrary.org.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Because I'll go sometime. I don't know when, but
Yeah, you plan it. Yeah.
And you have my information now. You can come in and we can look at it together as well. I can meet with you. And the same goes for anybody here. So, one of the great things about having Suz present tonight is that we get this information, this handout, and I will have this handout at the library as well for people. That's what part of the package deal. This is really, I mean, really valuable stuff. And I learned a lot. I mean,
Oh, good.
for me, the saving thing was huge.
I
I know
know.
how to navigate. I've, dinked around all kinds of ways, but to save the information is really, if you're doing the work, do yourself a favor.
Save it. And that's why I go over saving, because I can't tell you how many times people will say, how do I save it? I found this cool thing. How do I get it? And they do funny things like little screen snippets of 5 different things. And it's like, oh, just mail it, PDF it, it's anyway. Any more, any